Good afternoon, Rose. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Fine.
We have begun streaming live now so that people can join.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hi, Tariq. Can you hear me, see me? I can see you. I can't hear you.
Hi, Alicia. Good to see you. Hi.
Good to see you too. I think people are still connecting, so it's each time we see different voices and.
Hello, Ligia. This is Peng Zhong
Hi,
from
Ping.
China.
How are you?
Hello. It seems I couldn't share my camera.
Oh.
Yeah, but
Maybe
I can see you
leave
fine. I can
Oh,
see you
good.
just fine.
Okay. Unless you want to leave and come back again and check whether the camera works the next time.
They have the administrator
Hello.
have.
There.
Ligia. Hello, Tarek.
We can see you now.
Yeah, well, I can see a few colleagues is still joining. It's joining now, so probably we will wait for just 1 or 2 minutes before we start.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience.
No worries.
Hi, Orly. Hi.
Hello, Ping. Nice to
Hi.
see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to hear your voice. So can the secretary to confirm if all the advisory board member who have have replied their attendance for this advisory board meeting already joined the meeting room? If not, please make sure you reach them to reminding them about the our advisory board meeting. So without further ado, I think I will start. Rose?
Yes, Ping.
You think I can start now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you. Distinguished members of the Ctcn Advisory Board, observers, ladies and gentlemen, as the chair of the Advisory Board of the Climate Technology Center and Network, I hereby declare open the 16th meeting of the Ctcn Advisory Board. My name is Peng Zhong from China. I'm currently the co-chair of the Ctcn Advisory Board, together with my co-chair, Ms. Moa Fostop, from Sweden. We will chair the meeting in turn. So welcome to everyone attending the meeting over these next 3 days. As it's an online format, I'd like to explain how the discussion will be organized briefly. For advisory board members, you should have received a guidance note on how to use the conference system today. If you would like to pose a question or comment during the meeting, we ask you to use the raise hand function in Zoom. To do this, please select the participants icon from the bottom menu bar, and the page listing participants will show up on the right side of your screen. Click on the bottom right of the participants list and select raise hand. Then we can acknowledge you and you can unmute your microphone. For observers, if you would like to make a comment or question, kindly select questions from the menu and write your specific questions or comments directly in the box. We have done our best to consolidate what would normally be a full 3-day in-person meeting into three-hour sessions over the next few days. As we are quite limited on time, we will need to stay on schedule to address all of the agenda items. Therefore, if time does not allow for us to answer all observers' questions, then the Secretary has promised to incorporate them and any answers in the meeting report, which will be shared publicly following the meeting. Finally, I would ask you to have your video off and voice muted when you are not speaking. When you are speaking, please turn both on. So with that being said, we will turn to the first item in our agenda, the organization no matters. So the first is the adoption of the agenda. And I would like you to move to the adoption of the agenda and refer to advisory board member to document AB/2020/16/2.1, which contains the provisional agenda for this meeting. The draft provisional agenda was prepared jointly with the vice chair and also with the support of the secretary. I invite AB members to adopt the agenda for the 16th meeting. Please raise your hand only if you have a question or comment to make. If there's no comments are made, we will interpret that's agreement. So if you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. The Citizen Secretary, please help to monitor if there's any hand raised, and please remind me, and also Emma on this.
We are monitoring ping. We will
Okay,
be
thank you,
letting
Rose.
you know as they come. Thank you.
There are currently no hands raised.
Oh.
For the future sessions. So,
Okay.
Hello?
Saying no objections. The agenda is adopted. And now we move to the next on the agenda. It's the adoption of the 15th advisory board meeting minutes. That's item 2.2 of the agenda, which refers to document AB/2020/16/2.2. The draft minutes were circulated to board members last week. So if there's any specific proposed adjustments to the minutes from the AB 15, I would like to invite the AB members to adopt the minutes of the AB 15. Okay, I see some raised hand. Moses Omidi from Kenya. Please, the floor is yours.
Hamid.
I'm just facing a few problems.
Thank you.
Connection, but I would like to point concerning the adoption of the 15.
I can hear some talking, but thank you so much, Ping. Good afternoon. In Kenya, it is afternoon. Good morning for those who are the other side. Yes, we can adopt it with amendment because right from the onset, if I have the right document, the first statement is talking of a virtual meeting on 18th June with 118 attendees joining the online meeting. But going down, there is a table, and the theme of the table is advisory board members attending the 14th meeting.
That's a typo, I think.
Yes. And then the number of people there are people of the 14th meeting, yes. Because people like Peter was not there, Hamid was not there. So it will need to be amended and to have it corrected so that we can adopt.
Anything else?
Hello, Ping, an intervention from Hamid. Hamid, go ahead.
Everybody, I would just want to say a few words about the 15 advisory board. As you all know that I was not there, I was not attending the 15 advisory board due to the internet connection. And if I understood well, the 15 advisory board, like, it's not something very, very official. And then, and it already happened. So we were not there. We cannot adopt something which is not, we are not being part of this one. And just may take note, but I don't think we are in a position to adopt advisory board, which is online, and due to due to the internet, you were not able to attend. Yeah, what I would say, if you're hearing me well.
Okay, thank you, Hamid, and also thank you, Omidi. Is there anything else, or any comments from other colleagues of the advisory board? If there's no other comments, I would like to make this proposal for the consideration of the advisory board members. I do appreciate the comments just made by Moses and also by Hamid regarding the mistake in the minutes, and I think I will ask the Ctcn secretary to make adjustments to the document. So other parts of the document, except for the participation of the meeting, anything else you see you want to make comments? If that's there's no other comments, do you agree to adopt this minutes with the correction in the numbers and also in the names who attended the AB meeting, the AB 15? I see the raising hand. Moses, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ping. I can see also in para 35, if you allow, we have a mention of November 2022. I think that should have been November 2021, if I'm not wrong. And then that should be it. If we could amend those, then we can go ahead and adopt the agenda and proceed on from my side.
Okay, thank you, Omidi. Thank you for your critical eyes to find the mistakes in the minutes. Any other comments regarding the minutes? Okay, seeing no other comments, we will adopt this meeting minutes for advisory board meeting, the 15th advisory board of the Ctcn, based on the condition of the correction in the numbers and also the participants list, and also in the para 35 referring the year of the COP26. Saying no objection, it's decided we adopt the minutes with the condition of the corrections. Okay, let's move then to the third item of the agenda, which is the membership matters. I refer you to document AB/2020/15 or 16/2.3, which describes the current composition of the board. And here I would like to provide a few updates. First of all, I would like to recognize Mr. Kim Bong-soon, whom joined us today representing Korea for the first time. Mr. Bong-soon replaced Mr. Sung Kong, who has moved to a new position in his ministry. We thank Mr. Kong for his participation on the board and welcome Mr. Bong-soon from Korea. In addition, Ms. Sarah Argenson Munoz of Spain has resigned from the advisory board as the responsibility she assumed this year as Secretary of State of Energy in Spain's Ministry for Ecological Transition and Demographic Challenge preclude her participation. According to the rules of the procedures of the Ctcn Advisory Board, If a government representative of the board resigns or is otherwise unable to complete the assigned term of office or to perform the functions of that office, the board may decide, bearing in mind the proximity of the next session of the COP, to appoint another representative from the same constituencies to replace said member for the remainder of that member's mandate, in which case the appointment shall count as one term. Therefore, I'd like to ask if any member have any comments or questions related with the updates I just provided. And it seems from earlier message I got, there probably have, I heard the Spain might consider nominate a new AB member to replace Sarah. And I see raised hands by Mr. Kim Bang-sung and also Kenichiwara. So I do not know which one's first. So I will give the floor to Mr. Bang-sung of Korea. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ping. Good evening here in Korea, and maybe good morning or afternoon in the other side. Dear colleagues, it's my great pleasure to be with you tonight as a board member. I will do my best supporting various Ctcn activities. As you may well aware, Korea has various experience in technology cooperation within the Ctcn framework, such as pro bono technical assistance and establishing the Ctcn Partnership and Liaison Office. Also, I will do my best to explore the way for the Ctcn to strengthen its roles as an implementing arm of the technology mechanism. Thank you. I want to share my opinions with all our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bang-sung. And also thanks to the efforts made by you and also by previously Ms. Kong for your contribution in the advisory board. And next, Kenichi, the floor is yours.
Hello, Ping, and hello, everyone. I just want to make sure our term of advisory board membership, because in my understanding, the term of AB membership has been extended in accordance with 1 year extension of the negotiating session. But when I looked at the document, AB/2020/16/22.3, it says that election will be held in 2020 for the member, highlighted in yellow. So is there any chance that election will be held online in this year? Could you update us on this matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Kenichi. So I would ask the Ctcn Secretary to provide us some clarification on that.
Ping, this is Karina here. And I can say that the document that was sent out, the details there are according to the normal plans. So we are trying to keep the information clear according to the normal plans. But as has been indicated by the UNFCCC Secretariat to all of the constituted bodies, because of the moving of the COP26 meeting until next year, all current seats are supposed to stay in place until that time. So we currently don't envision any online voting for new members' seats. unless we hear otherwise from the UNFCCC Secretariat. As it stands now, all current seats will remain until next year, COP26.
Okay, thank you, Karina. So, Kenichi, I see, oh, okay. Thank you. I see no more hands.
Hi, Ping. This is Karine. Hamid here would like to ask a question, please.
Okay, please, Hamid, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would just want a clarification from the Secretariat concerning the the AB member, like in LDCs and also when you see that there's a exclamation point, which means that this individual cannot be elected to serve a new term. And we know that the mandate, if you are elected for 2 years and when it ends, it's eligible for that guy to for second mandate. And you have also, I think the Secretary has who joined when the list. And I joined Ctcn on 2018, I think. And then I can see it's not eligible, and also I can see also on my name. So if the nomination would start from the when the guy joined the board, it's not like yeah. This I need a clarification why these are put it on my name and it's not eligible for and so on. So yeah, just a clarification.
So this Citizen Secretary, could you provide some further information for Hamid?
Yes, Ping, this is Karina again. And each year after the COP, we receive updated lists of memberships by the parties from the UNFCCC Secretariat, and that indicates the number or the status in terms of the time served and when things are scheduled to change in terms of voting. So I'd be happy to send that document to Hamid right now so that he can take a look and see where it stands and we can review it together.
Okay, thank you, Karina. Is there any other information, other comments, other queries? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see no more hands, so I would like to suggest we schedule, since we as I just mentioned, the Spain probably will propose another nomination on the replacement of Sarah. So when that happens, probably we will have another task force meeting of the advisory board to discuss. And with that being said, we will move to our next agenda item. I will invite my co-chair, Ms. Moa Foster, to chair the session. Moa.
Thank you very much, Ping. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to co-chair this meeting today and this week. And now I would like to introduce the speakers who will provide introductory remarks for our meeting today. So I ask Mr. Tarek Mtira, Director of UNIDO's Department of Energy, to provide a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Moa, and thank you, co-chairs Moa and Zhong. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, to be with you here virtually, and on behalf of UNIDO also to host this meeting virtually. as the co-host of the CTCN, welcome. Needless to say that we would have preferred to host you in Vienna and greet you in person, but the pandemic is a reminder of the importance of resilience. It also represents an opportunity to build a better, stronger future. Let me start by saying that UNIDO stands ready to continue working alongside UNEP in promoting the accelerated deployment of technologies and solutions for low carbon and climate resilient development. Those efforts are as pertinent as ever. CTCN has come a long way since its inception. We take pride to be associated with its success and impact. At the same time, we find ourselves at a critical juncture with the end of the cycle approaching regarding various constitutional documents. You are aware of the independent evaluation that the UNFCCC is commissioning. We welcome such effort and we will eagerly engage in the process with the view to take stock and identify opportunities to improve. But I'm also glad to convey that we have not waited for this milestone for introspection. There is a lot we have learned in hosting and managing the CTCN over the years. It is our intention to utilize this experience to revisit some of the institutional and managerial aspects with the objective to offer the best possible platform for the CTCN to operate in line with the host agency's accountability frameworks. Looking forward, we are glad to report that in addition to the fruitful collaboration UNIDO has had over the years with the Global Environmental Facility, UNIDO is establishing a link with the other body of the financial mechanism of the convention, namely the Green Climate Fund. Indeed, UNIDO's accreditation has been approved by the governing body of the GCF. So we look forward to working with our colleagues and friends from UNEP in consolidating the hosting and management of the CTCN. It represents, in our view, an essential building block to support countries raise the level of ambition when it comes to addressing climate change. With this in mind, I wish you all the best for your deliberations. Our invitation remains open and look forward to the next opportunity to welcome you in Vienna for a subsequent meeting of the CTCN Advisory Board. Thank you, and back to you, Moa.
Thank you very much, Tarek. And the board extends its thanks to UNIDO for hosting this advisory board meeting. Thank you very much. And I now welcome Ms. Lydia Norona, Director of UNEP's Economy Division, to speak. The floor is yours, Lydia.
Thank you very much, Moa. Distinguished co-chairs, Moa and Ping, distinguished members of the advisory board, the observers, colleagues in UN agencies, colleagues at CTCN, ladies and gentlemen, and all observers. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Greetings from India, where I'm currently located in COVID days. But so it's a good evening for me. Thank you very much again for your support to CTCN. And with Tarek, I want to wish you the very best for this meeting. We are very happy to note that we've had a continuous business continuity of CTCN despite the COVID days. And this is something which we applaud, and we are very happy to note. In the context of UNEP and its own midterm strategy, which we are in the middle of developing, and this is a midterm strategy of 22 to 25, CTCN will increasingly play also a very big role in support of our work, in support of the work of UNFCCC, because the midterm strategy of UNEP has prioritized 3 planetary crises: climate change, pollution, and nature. In this context, there is very clear focus on both the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement. And in this very important functioning, we see that CTCN will play a crucial role in the implementation of the strategy, both in terms of the mandate that it has on technology as part of the convention's technology mechanism, work on climate adaptation and mitigation, a contribution to the Paris Agreement through helping countries shape and implement their nationally determined contributions. Their work streams on innovations and digital technology and circular economy, which we're very pleased to see that CTCN has picked up in a very involved way. So given all of this, given also that CTCN's visioning is very much in line with the thinking of UNEP in terms of its gender responsive delivery, working with partners, North-South, South-South collaboration, responsiveness to national needs, and especially to the needs of the most vulnerable countries. In the past months, we've had very challenging times, both as UNEP and CTCN. And of course, I'm sure it's been UNIDO and all the others too who are present today. But this has been an opportunity for all of us to work together and build back better. It's been an opportunity for us to come together despite the fact that we've not been able to meet face-to-face, as Tariq also mentioned. The months ahead are indeed very crucial ones. They're very crucial ones, not only for CTCN, but for all the rest of us. For UNEP, we have the United Nations Environmental Assembly coming up in February. Of course, the COP26 has been postponed. We have the second, and Tariq mentioned this, the second independent review of the CTCN commissioned by the UNFCCC Secretariat as requested by the COP. We also have the revision of the UNEP-UNIDO program document, but all of this gives us a great opportunity to look back at CTCN, and with your advice coming out of this meeting and further meetings, we are in a position to really taking forward whatever comes out in terms of guidance. We're very pleased to see that CTCN is on track to deliver its full program. This is particularly significant given how difficult this year has been. And in this regard, we are happy to note that CTCN has sought adaptive ways to tailor technical support to developing countries for their COVID-19 challenges. And as a good example of this is a joint CTCN-UNDP Adaptation Technology Accelerator Program, which will be launched in a few days. I'm also pleased to say that UNEP has been supporting CTCN in resource mobilization efforts as part of host agency work. This is with regard to South Korea, but it's also with regard to the governments of Denmark and UK. And we're pleased to note that these efforts are moving forward very well. So with Tariq, let me wish all of you the very best in your meeting and look forward to your guidance going forward. Thank you, Moa.
Thank you very much, Lydia, and thank you to UNEP for your support to the CTCN. We very much appreciate it. And now back over to Ping. Thank you.
Thank you, Moa. And also, I would also like to thank Lydia and Tariq for their support of the CTCN's work. So I wonder if there's any questions or comments, I think, from the advisory board regarding the information we just received from Tariq and also Lydia. Okay, I saw raising hand from Merapi of EU. Merapi, the floor is yours, please.
Hello, dear colleagues. I would like to ask whether we can have more, to be more specific, what kind of adjustments the UNIDO will do to facilitate the operation of CTCN, and also what are the UNEP's provisions for the hosting and facilitating the operation of CTCN.
Tariq, do you want to go first?
Okay, Lydia, since you're already on the screen, please.
Okay, so just to say to Meropi that we facilitate the CTCN in every possible way by providing them not only the support that they need, but also, and in response to the question from Ambrosio, also supporting the effective functioning in terms of the financial support that we provide to them. So we do help with resource mobilization, but we also help with guidance as and when it's required. We do facilitate the interaction of Ctcn through UNEP with other partners. And that is some of the core ways in which we support them. But if Merope wants some more details, we can provide them in writing. Over.
Thank you, Lydia. And is there anything to add by Tarek?
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
If I may jump, I just to respond to specifically to Merope's question on the adjustment. Of course, we are looking forward now to cooperate with the evaluation that's undergoing from the UNFCCC and the feedback that we will receive, considering that the institutional documents that governs the hosting arrangement coming to an end in 2021. So we would use this opportunity to strengthen the management and the fund mobilization for the Ctcn.
Thank you, Tarek, and also thank Lydia for the further clarification and further information they provided. Without further ado, let's move to our next agenda item. That's the coordination with other UNFCCC constituted bodies. So now we would like to ask representatives from the UNFCCC constituted bodies to provide the advisory board with a brief update. We will take any questions after all representatives have spoken. We will start by asking Ms. Alessandra Scobi of the Adaptation Committee to present. The floor is yours.
Ping, this is Karina. We've just received a message from the Adaptation Committee that due to their ongoing meetings, they will not be able to present now, but they have sent a letter, part of which I would like to read for the advisory board now, and then we will post the full letter on the advisory board page of the Ctcn website.
Okay, please, Karina, please.
Thank you. So the Adaptation Committee has proposed some areas of that might be of potential interest for the Ctcn Advisory Board in terms of their current activities and areas that we could participate. The first of these, and I'll read it verbatim, it says, the Adaptation Committee, in collaboration with the LEG and other stakeholders, very recently launched an inventory to the different methodologies that parties use to assess their most urgent adaptation needs and how these can be addressed. This inventory will offer a centralized hub of information for those looking to understand which tools are available for assessing various types of adaptation needs in different contexts. The Adaptation Committee warmly invites you to contribute to this inventory by sending methodologies to the address that they provide, and they will be included. We are also happy to answer any questions or accommodate any improvements on how to make this inventory more user-friendly. It is still in a pilot phase and will be updated regularly. Point 2. The Adaptation Committee is going to conduct some work on technologies for adaptation next year. We have in our work plan a technical paper on the application of technologies for adaptation, which we are going to prepare in the course of next year. The Adaptation Committee is meeting this week and will decide on a concrete topic. One current thought is to focus the technical paper on enhanced stakeholder engagement, including the private sector, in terms of technology planning and implementation. If there is interest from the Ctcn side in collaborating with us on this paper, we will be more than happy to communicate the agreed topic to you after this week's meeting and would very much welcome your inputs to this work. Third, the Adaptation Committee has finalized a technical paper on data for adaptation at different spatial and temporal scales and is going to approve it this week. Recognizing that the demand for data for adaptation is growing in response to different political and practical needs, we decided to prepare an overview on this topic and make it available later this month in the form of a user-friendly publication. The draft has been peer-reviewed by a variety of stakeholders, including the WMO, the GEO, and the GCOS, and we hope that this publication will be of interest to the CTCN as well. Once it is available, we would very much welcome you to use and disseminate it, and any feedback is always welcome to inform our future work. Number 4. Lastly, the Adaptation Committee, together with the LAG, is continuously addressing gaps and needs related to the process to formulate and implement national adaptation plans. Throughout the years, the two bodies have identified such gaps and needs in their work, and they have recently compiled them into a structured overview. We would like to highlight that the AC and the LAG have now reached the stage where concrete suggestions to address the identified gaps are being brought forward, and we invite you to take a look and feel free to let us know whether these are areas that could be covered by CTCN network partners. The compilation is available on the website of the LAG, and the Secretariat can send you the link. So these are the 4 points raised in the document, and as I mentioned, we will post this right now onto the CTCN Advisory Board meeting page so that it can be viewed by all members as well as the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Karina, for reading us the letter from the Adaptation Committee. And also thanks for the Adaptation Committee for sharing all these updates and informations. Now we invite Ms. Vicky Nons of the Standing Committee to speak.
Yes, thank you very much, Ping, and happy to be here at the CTCN Advisory Board. So yes, I made a small presentation to just give you an update on where we stand at the SCF meeting, and thanks for putting it on the screen. So we, as other constituted bodies, the SCF also needed to adapt to the new reality of having everything digital, and so a lot of things are happening in online and through webinars and so on. So we have different work streams, and the first one is the 4th biennial assessment and overview of climate finance, which we will publish at the first quarter of 2021. So what happened so far at the status is that we had 3 informal webinars to make sure that we get all the inputs required to ensure that we have the latest information and data to present in this biennial assessment. So the consultants are currently working on a second order draft, and we will be discussing it quite soon. I think even in December, we might have the second order draft ready. So the inputs are being integrated at this point, and also, as we know, I mean, the onion diagram, which is a quite familiar diagram used in the biennial assessment, and other graphics will be updated once we have further additions. The next slide shows the first report on determining needs of developing countries, and there we also engaged in online webinars, but then it was more from a regional perspective. So here we had one in Africa, Eastern Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean, and the Pacific. So as with the BA, the biennial assessment, we are also currently working on its second order draft, which we'll be discussing during the next SCF meeting, which is also online, of course. So these 2 documents, which are mostly the 2 flagships from the SCF, are currently well under its way, and will be continue our work on those. Then we also have on the next slide, we have the third, I would also call it a flagship from the, which is our forum. Unfortunately, even though it was going to take place, and it probably going to take place in Australia at this point, we're still looking into how we're going to do this. But in the meantime, we have had virtual consultations with stakeholders and finance negotiators and so on, to ensure that we have a good view on the program. That only happened last week. So at this point, we are revising the forum program to ensure that all input received will be included. under the draft guidance to the operating entities of the financial mechanism. And I know that after me to the financial mechanism is going to give an update, so I'll be quite brief at this point, but as you know, the CHEF annual report is published, at least the advanced version. And very soon we will develop a note for bodies and to the bodies, so that's also quite important for the tech, on informing on how the outcomes of the SCF decision on how the guidance will be developed this time will be distributed to you. So you will receive this information on time, so you provide your guidance as well, which we very much welcome. And then as a final point, and I am a bit in a rush because I have another meeting at 2 o'clock. Just this is just for your information. Of course, we work closely together with many different constituted bodies, and happy that I'm the one working with you guys with Ctcn. But we also have contacts, of course, with the PCCB, the Adaptation Committee, and others. So I'm not going through all this, but this is also, I'm sure the slides will be made available to you so you can see where we stand at this point. So if you go to the next slide, you can also see our contacts with the other constituted bodies at this point. So this is a very brief presentation because I do have to run. But if there are further questions, I already talked to your secretariat, and I'll make sure that I will respond to them by email. That would be the case. So apologies for being so brief, but thank you. And I'll be back tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Vicky. Thank you. We appreciate you share the updates, and also especially on those related with technology. Thank you. And now we invite Mr. Emerson Rancidi of the Green Climate Fund. The floor is yours. Emerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's good to see everybody, and morning, afternoon, evening. I'm greeting you all from Korea. And I'll try to be brief as well for presentation. I have shared already these slides with the Secretariat. I'm sure this will be made available after this meeting. So allow me to share my screen here, and I will try to go through these slides, not so much in details in the first part, which is just to provide an update to everybody about the portfolio of the GCF. But I'll try and concentrate on the latter part, which is about the work on technology that I think is more pertinent. And then if you excuse me, at the end of the presentation, I'll have to leave because we have our board meeting happening at the same time as this meeting that goes from, well, from yesterday until Friday as well. Right. Can you just let me know if you can see the slides?
Yes, yep. Yes, we can see it. Please.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Right, I'm not going to go through these, but you can see these slides later on for those that are not familiar with a previous presentation that I have given on the first semester about the GCF. But here you can see a little bit about the history of the fund, what we have achieved in these 5 years of approving projects. The first project was approved literally 5 years ago in November of 2015. So we have achieved quite a bit, and this quite a bit, let me quickly tell you about. Up to date, before the projects that are in discussion to be approved this week at the GCF, we have approved 143 projects in more than 100 countries all over the world. It's about $6.2 billion of GCF resources, plus resources from co-financing, which stands around $1 to $3. So every dollar of the GCF gets $3 on co-financing. Accredited entities, so UNIDO and UNEP are accredited entities to the GCF, and Ctcn is a delivery partner that works with both. We have nowadays nearly 100 entities accredited from all over the world, and you have here different sizes from MDBs all the way down to national entities that work with a specific country, for example. A little bit about numbers. I think it's super important to flag that we strive to, of course, work with developing countries that are at risk of climate impacts, in particular LDCs and SIDS, but also African countries, and you can clearly see these numbers here. Again, all this information that I'm presenting to you is updated up to the last board meeting, which took place in August of this year. Right, I think here we can come into a part that's more of an interest to everybody, which is the Readiness Program. That's primarily where Ctcn engages with the GCF, where our cooperation, I think, bears most fruits. Up to date, we have almost 140 countries that have received funds from the GCF. And it's important for me here to highlight this information. Every developing country that can access the GCF have available up to $1 million per year per country for readiness activities. Let me say that again. Every developing country that can access the GCF have a budget available for that country of up to $1 million per country per year. So if you don't use that budget this year, it's not cumulative. Next year it starts, you have a new budget, it doesn't accumulate. On top of that, every developing country can access through the GCF, through our readiness program, a once in a lifetime, up to $3 million grant for developing their national adaptation planning processes. And that's just once in a lifetime. Right. Specifically now talking about support for technology. So Ctcn so far has accessed resources for 25 projects with the GCF. You can see the dollar figure, over $8 million that we have disbursed or we have approved for Ctcn related projects. A little bit of composition you can see on the screen where these projects are in terms of region and how it is the balance between UNIDO and Ctcn as well. The type of support, and I'll come back to the type of support in my final recommendations because I feel that we, as more and more countries have developed their TNAs, I think we are becoming more mature and we have some concrete recommendations for how to keep working on that forward. A little bit of examples of the support for TNAs that we have provided, different countries, what kind of support we have target for these countries. You see the tickets of each country, it varies quite a lot, right? If you compare Cambodia to Brazil, although countries are different size, of course, Brazil is 3 times bigger almost, or yeah, a little bit less than 3 times bigger than Cambodia, but around there. I think this part here now is something that's of great interest to everybody, something that we have talked about before. I also commend Ctcn for the work of the Adaptation Fund on climate incubators. I'm very happy to see that taking off. So the work that the GCF has been cooking for a while, which is a COP mandate and also a board mandate, is structured the way I'm presenting here on this slide. So we have basically 3 stages. Stage 1 will focus on the incubators. Stage 2 will focus on the accelerators, making sure that those technologies that we identify that have potential for markets for scaling up will move and receive further resources to be scaled. And the third one is the growth funds. The growth funds is once things have proved stage 1, proved stage 2, and are ready for a final stage for even further growth or transferring for different parts of the world and definitely scaling that up. Where are we with that work so far? We are in the stage of discussing with the accredited entities that we have available for us to see, according to their accreditation that organization has with the GCF, because some organization cannot do some types of financial modalities. For example, some organizations can only do grants. They cannot do equity. They cannot do loans. And that's important for these particular formats that we are presenting, that the organization can do equity as well. We need to attract more resources for the resources that we're planning to put there. So that conversation has taken longer than we thought, but it's because we're trying to be more thorough in conversations with these entities. We definitely hope to start bearing fruits very soon on this, and I'll definitely keep colleagues at Ctcn updated, because every colleagues at the operational level have provided very important inputs in this process where we started developing these concepts that you can see on this screen. Right, so I'm coming to the final part of my presentation here. and with the considerations and I'm calling contributions, but the considerations that I want to share with everybody. And I basically picked 5 envisioned key areas for enhancing technology work. Okay, number 1, creating this long-term vision, connecting what you see on this diagram, on these little boxes and narrow, it's extremely important. So we know that the TNA, the technology needs assessment, at the GCF comes from our readiness support. But it's important that that first part of the work is connected to the last part of the work, which is the funding proposal itself, which is when a country comes to the GCF via an accredited entity and say, GCF, here's a project that I am seeking funding for. And that project for us is important to see that has a connection, if there was one, of course, with the work that was identified during the TNA exercise, be it the TNA or the TNA action plan. But we want to see that reflected in the funding proposals. This is something that we hope that as the portfolio matures and countries have gone through their TNAs and moving to TNA action plan, they start fleshing out that. But that connects to another points 2 and 3 here. Point 2, it's important to have whatever approach that the country is doing or Ctcn is working with that country, that's tailored for that country. Why am I saying this? We have noticed in the past that there were some proposals that they were similar across the region. We will be very interested to see specific technologies that are pertinent for that specific context. Why is this important for us? Because then we can report back and say, this kind of technology is working, we should invest more on that, we should pay more attention, we should bring more stakeholders, and so on. Number 3, enhancing the coordination between the NDEs and NDAs. This is a sort of old conversation. There is even a COP mandate for if I'm not mistaken, the GEF and Ctcn to engage with that as well. I believe that once we start connecting TNAs with funding proposals, all of this will come together naturally. I'll probably be talking more about that in future meetings because it's a vision that we have. It's a connection of the very beginning of the work with identifying the needs to the funding proposal with approving a project. Number 4, of course, increasing ambition for transformative technology. And that is the work that I think Ctcn is embarking on through the incubators with the adaptation funds, is the work that we want to do with our climate innovation facility, the incubators and accelerators, to start seeing with more clarity where these specific technologies for specific problems of particularly developing countries that needs to develop resilience, where they are. Number 5 and final one, ensure complementarity and coherence across funds, primarily GEF, GCF, and adaptation funds. Often we get proposals from accredited entities for funding where there is either a project that has been done in that country very similarly, or a project that has been done in another country that's with the same focus, the same area. So there's always lessons learned and synergies to be brought from different projects. I understand it can be a little bit labor intense. You have to go into the database of the other funds. You have to find, look for similarities with what you're trying to do. But this is extremely important for us, but extremely important for the country itself, because reduce duplication, identify synergies, and help you to come up with a project that's stronger and stands a better chance to be approved. Final thing from my side. We have scheduled a meeting that is an annual mandate, was a mandate for an annual meeting from our board. This meeting is the GCF meeting of co-chairs with the chairs and co-chairs of the UNFCCC constituted bodies. Last year it took place at the COP in Madrid. This year it's going to take place virtually in 2 weeks' time. You can see the timing on the screen. There will be 2 agenda items primarily. They're also on the screen, but basically everybody's going to share views and ideas of what they have experienced, done, and worked with in 2020 about helping countries to maintain the momentum of achieving the goals of Paris Agreement and dealing with the coronavirus pandemic. And the second one is discussions on how can we further enhance the cooperation of GCF with the constituted bodies. Everybody has been invited to the chairs and co-chairs. If not, the invitation should be coming soon. This is it from my side. And the final thing is, some of you might be questioning why I have just a mustache. I normally don't carry a mustache, but this is for a cause called Movember. It's a movement that happens in the month of November where men shave just the beard and keeps the mustache to raise awareness about prostate cancer. So there it is from my side. Thank you very much. I hope it was helpful. Back to you, Chair, and open for any questions.
Thank you, Emerson. Yeah, very informative, very interesting presentation of the work of GCF related, especially related with technologies. And you mentioned you are rushed for another meeting, right?
I am, but excuse me, Chair. I am, but I can stick around for if there are immediate questions. It's just because our board meeting is happening right now.
In that case, I will ask the advisory board members if you have any questions you want to ask Emerson now.
Yeah, I see there's a question on the screen, Chair. Shall I address that one?
Sure, in the chatting. Okay.
Oh, sure. Emerson, just a quick question. On the tech meeting in April, you shared with you shared with us the updated strategic plan for the Green Climate Fund 2020-2023. I think it was the February version. Is there an updated version of that document? Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. Yes, there is an updated version that is being discussed at this meeting of the Green Climate Fund board this week. It's not, they're not going to take that item as of today, but it will be taken up this week. If you want to see the latest version, I invite you just to just type on Google GCF B27B for boardroom, and that's the webpage where all the documents that are going to be considered by the board at this meeting are. And the documents for the updated strategic plan is available there. We hope that to go through, but we are working hard on that.
Okay, thank you, Emerson. I see no raised hand, so I think you are good to go. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, I invite Ms. Katia Kwang Ingba of the Global Environment Facility to speak. Hi, Mrs. Katia, are you there? Katia, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Thank you. Please, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I think I had a connection issue. Thank you, Ping, and good morning to everyone from Washington, D.C. Happy to be here. I'm going to offer some brief remarks on GEF activities relevant to the Ctcn. Sorry, I'm just going to start my video. So this is both some historical information as well as some updates. As you all know, the transfer of low carbon and climate resilient technology has and continues to be a cross-cutting theme for the GEF since its establishment. Going along with this, the GEF has supported technology transfer since the approval of the Posen Strategic Program for Technology Transfer, which was approved with combined total funding of over $50 million. This was approved in GEF 4, and going forwards to the present day in GEF 7, the focal areas of both climate change adaptation and climate change mitigation continue to prioritize supporting developing countries in making transformational shifts towards low emission and climate resilient development pathways. There are strategic objectives dedicated to supporting the delivery of technology transfer under both strategies for adaptation and mitigation. And the longer term elements of the PSP have been integrated into GEF strategies ever since the approval of the program. The GEF is grateful for the long-term strong partnership with the regional centers, which we've been supporting since the approval of the PSP. And under the PSP, support for the technology centers and network were one of 5 key elements for scaling up investments in ESTs. The GEF supported the 4 regional projects and the Ctcn through 1 global project, with a combined total of 11.8 million across these 5 projects, all of which are currently nearing closure. Detailed information on the progress of these projects, which is provided from the implementing agencies to the GEF, is available in the GEF's report to COP26, which is online. We publish this information every year, as you all probably know, and I can send the link afterwards if it's needed. As I mentioned, going forward since then, long-term elements of the PSP have been integrated into the GEF's current strategy. And as I mentioned, there are dedicated components to supporting the transfer of low emission and climate resilient technologies in both of our current strategies for adaptation and mitigation. In terms of current collaboration with the Ctcn, the GEF has recently approved 1 PIF for which the Ctcn is an executing partner, and with UNIDO as the implementing agency. This project was approved as part of the GEF's challenge program for adaptation innovation. The objective of this challenge program is to identify and profile innovation and private sector engagement in climate adaptation. This was a highly competitive call for proposals where only the most innovative adaptation concepts were selected for financing. The Ctcn project was one of 9 chosen out of almost 400 submissions from 340 different organizations. This project is called Piloting Innovative Financing for Climate Adaptation Technologies in Medium-Sized Cities. And the project develops a methodological approach and financing toolkit for medium-sized cities and conducts on-the-ground pilot projects in 3 selected cities in Africa, Asia, and LAC. Going further, the project will support these cities in adopting a systematic approach to prioritizing infrastructure needs, identifying key investment projects, and matching with private financiers, as well as leveraging the Ctcn network for climate change technology data. Another important element of this project is how it will advance innovative financing strategies for climate adaptation in medium-sized cities. Finally, new methods and guidance materials will be produced and shared through the support of this project, and we hope that this can be useful to Ctcn in helping create new opportunities for the delivery of its mandate. The GEF continues to appreciate and participate in ongoing collaboration with the Ctcn as appropriate. Just last week, the Secretariat participated in the first of what we assume will be a series of virtual dialogues on experiences and lessons learned from the pilot regional climate technology transfer and finance centers supported under the GEF. And the GEF also does execute an annual survey with all of the centers and the Ctcn to receive updates and achievements on project implementation, as well as coordination across the centers. And as I mentioned earlier, the GEF report to COP26 includes all of the current information that is gleaned from the surveys. Additionally, the GEF continues to respond to invitations from the Ctcn to attend advisory board meetings as well as relevant events when feasible, and will continue to coordinate with GEF agencies which implement the regional centers as these projects come to closure. And we will share these results with the UNFCCC through the annual report. In terms of general support to technology, the GEF, in this past fiscal year, the GEF approved 119.5 million in funding for 10 projects and 3 programs under climate change mitigation. These projects together have leveraged 1.2 billion in co-financing. Under climate adaptation, the GEF has approved 86.6 million for 24 projects, leveraging 445.9 million in co-financing. The 4th phase of the UNEP Global TNA project was approved last year in 2019 and endorsed by the GEF CEO this past July 2020. Moving forward, in closing my remarks, I just wanted to provide suggestions or recommendations for future opportunities, which could potentially strengthen the partnership between the JEF and the CTCN. As a core and fundamental principle, the JEF prioritizes country-drivenness and ownership when considering submissions and funding decisions. So if the CTCN could work together with countries to develop concepts which could integrate some STAR allocation, it would maximize the impact and increase competitiveness and likelihood of success of CTCN concepts with financing from the JEF. Lastly, continuing to coordinate with the JEF and share information during the annual survey, as well as expanding the CTCN's participation through the JEF's country support program, which, as Emerson mentioned, includes coordination between the JEF OFPs and the UNFCCC NDEs through attending extended constituency meetings and other meetings of this type where JEF OFPs are present would definitely strengthen coordination and information sharing among these bodies. That's it from me. Back to you, Ping. Oh, wait, hold on.
Thank you,
okay,
Cassie. Thank you so much for your very informative briefing and updates of the JEF's work. And I would give the floor to the AB members if there's question. Please raise your hand. In the meantime, I see there's already questions in the chat, in the chatting by observer. So Cassia, could you address the question in the chat?
Okay, the question from Ambrosio. Oh, no, okay. Yes, from Ambrosio, comment regarding the JEF report, responding to decision. The SBI recommended that the COP invite the JEF to consider relevant recommendations contained in the evaluation report within the scope of its mandate and operational modalities. The JEF responded. The JEF has and will continue to work with the tech and other relevant partners to consider relevant recommendations contained in the tech's updated evaluation of the PSP as appropriate, consistent with the JEF's mandate and operational modalities, which is not clarifying about how each recommendation was addressed. Because I asked because several of those recommendations were addressed to JEF with the CTCN. I don't quite understand the question. Is the question how specifically we're going to respond to the recommendations in the evaluation report, which the answer is that we will respond as we can, as appropriate, consistent with the JEF's mandate and operational modalities. Because as we discussed during COP25 and during the intersessional before that, not all of the recommendations are actually feasible considering the operational modality of the JEF. So the ones which are feasible and in line with our mandate, we will do our best to respond to, for sure.
Okay, thank you, Kathia. Thank you for your further collaboration of what JEF will take of the ISB and COP mandate and suggestion. So with that, without further ado, we are already behind of our schedule, and we will move to our next session. And I will turn to Moa to chair.
Thank you very much, Ping. And now we have come to matters relating to the Convention's technology mechanism. And I invite the tech chair, Mr. Marir Mohammed Hasni, to provide an update. The floor is yours, Marir. Thank you.
Thank you, Moa, and thank you, Ping, for the meeting. I would like to kick off our my talk. Just keep. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me thank on behalf of Tech for inviting us to provide an update on how things have been doing in the Tech since Tech 20 and also since AB 15. With that, very similar to my previous presentation in the AB 15, I would like to concentrate on the 5 areas in our rolling work program, rolling work plan. That is, the first one is innovation, implementation, enabling environment, capacity building, collaboration, stakeholder engagement, support, and I have others as well. So with regards to innovation, we are on track. We have three important things happening. The first one is with regards to the compilation of RD&D good practices that we hope to be agreed in Tech 21 next week. Similarly, the mapping of emerging technologies as well. And then also we have a upcoming technology day along this in the margins of the climate dialogues. That is with relate to the innovation chapter, innovation work stream. The second one with regards to the implementation, we have implemented or completed our work with regards to the good practices, compilation of the good practices with regards to the TNA, and also a policy brief. We have also completed our work on the publication of the uptake of existing technologies. And we are in the process of finalizing the COP recommendations from the Tech on TNA, as well as on the TEMMs that we hope to finalize again in next week as we reconvene as Tech 21. On the other thematic area, which is the enabling environment and capacity building, the two outcomes, one which is the paper which enables environment challenges and of climate technologies, as well as the survey on the endogenous capacities and endogenous capacities and technologies would be discussed and agreed in Tech 21. Moving on the collaboration and stakeholder engagement, we have undertaken the joint work with the WIM to develop the policy brief on coastal zones on loss and damage technologies. We are intersessionally have collaborated with Ctcn. We have intersessionally organized the TEMMs on climate smart solutions in August, and also similar to the other similar to the recommendations that we provide to the COP. We will be finalizing the recommendations focus on coastal technologies borrowed from the policy brief that was completed. Again, this would happen next week at Tech 21. With regards to the support element or the support thematic area, the climate technology incubators and accelerators with GCF, we would be having a discussion in around this at Tech 21, and we would be providing our annual inputs to the GCF as well as Jeff is an ongoing inputs that we annually presents. With regards to the other elements, Tech has have identified gender focal points, and we are enhancing our work to mainstream gender, to gender mainstreaming and in technologies. So that work is also ongoing, and we would have an update on how it is going at discussed at Tech 21. We also have undertaken the tech monitoring and evaluation, as well as we would be discussing the joint activities with Tech and Ctcn, which the Ctcn will be discussing in a while. With regards to our collaboration in 2020, as mentioned before, we have co-organized several regional TEMMs, which is around, we took around smart coolings. We have also co-organized dialogues on experience and lessons learned from regional climate technology transfer and finance centers supported with the Global Environment Facility. We have also implemented the technology mechanism monitoring and evaluation system, and also we have a communication and outreach with regards to that. Just to present you an outlook on how we move things ahead from now. Our work has been impacted as little as possible due to COVID-19, but nevertheless we would be pacing our work further to ensure that we complete all the activities in time. We were able to, I'm happy to report that we were able to deliver on all the activities in time as envisioned in our work plan, and thanks to our members and the good collaboration that we had with the Ctcn. As mentioned before, we will be having our Tech 21 next week from 17th to 20th online, similar to the Ctcn. And also we would be having in the margins of climate dialogue that has been championed by both the SBI and Substra chair. The first one, we would be having a technology mechanism event on 25th of November, and a technology day on 30th of November. With that, I would like to stop it here, pause here, and I would be more than happy to answer questions with regards to what I have presented. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria, for that. I will now open the floor for AB members if there are any questions or comments to Maria. And if not, we wish you the best of luck with the meeting next week. And we're looking forward to the collaboration between the tech and the Ctcn, as you mentioned. So seeing no hands here for the floor, we will turn to the joint activities of the tech and Ctcn that Maria mentioned. And I will remind the advisory board members that we have engaged in discussions on proposed areas for joint activities over the last years. And I now refer advisory board members to the document AB/2020/16/52 and ask the board to provide any inputs for the chairs and the vice chairs of the tech and the Ctcn advisory board to be able to finalize the joint activities with a view to reporting on them in the joint annual report of the tech and Ctcn for 2020. And likewise, I encourage you to consider and agree on the modalities to implement the agreed joint activities, taking into account timelines and resource implications for each activity. So I now open the floor for comments on the joint activities. Thank you. I see a hand from Kenichi Wada from Japan. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Moa. I don't know if this is something that we should deal with under this agenda item, but let me make a quick comment. My comment is about technology that are ready to transfer in the table of proposed joint Ctcn activity. I think proposal of having the joint dialogue is not a bad idea, but it seems to me that the events include the activities that goes beyond our agreed 4-year work program. When I look at the Ctcn 4-year work program, it includes 2 activities. One is capacity is built through on-the-job and curriculum-based training on technology identification and assessment methods. 2 is Ctcn knowledge portal provides access to updates and relevant tools and resources for technology identification, prioritization, and transfer. In light of this program work, the proposed event goes beyond our anticipated action. I think it's fine to have a dialogue between tech and Ctcn on this issue, but I would suggest sticking to the action described in our work program. That's my comment.
Thank you very much for that, Ken. I also want to remind colleagues, advisory board members, that we very much welcome comments by email. So comments that you raise here in the meeting, you can also submit by email to the address ctcn@un.org. So ctcn@un.org. So we will take your comments on board. Thank you again. And now I see a hand from Sergio. You have the floor, Sergio.
Oh, well, excuse me, I had some problem in reacting my microphone. Now, I just wrote that, unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to listen well to the Kenichi intervention, so it's difficult. So I didn't ask for the floor, but just raised this. I just sent my my message to the chat.
Okay, I'm sorry. And I see now also in the chat that also Merope Paneli from the European Commission couldn't hear clearly Ken's intervention. So I don't know, Ken, if you would like to try to make your intervention again, or if it's fine that you can submit it by email also.
I will send the email later.
Okay, so we will receive your email. Thank you. So now I see a hand from Ping and then from Omedi. So Ping, you have the floor.
I think I will just give the floor to Omedi.
Okay, so Omedi has the floor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the joint activities, and I think that we still have room to discuss, particularly the Build Back Better part of it, because it will be presented. But I was thinking that there are some terminologies that we are using that are not consistent with the convention terminologies, and may somehow conflict the objectives that Ctcn has towards developing countries. And probably we can relook at them. For example, decarbonization. We know that, in my view, this fits better countries that have to take action to cut down on their carbon, that is in systems that are already existing, of course, as opposed to developing countries that have to develop. And what we are emphasizing is developing along low carbon pathways. And so this can bring a bit of confusion if not properly defined. It's also good to be flexible in this particular activity, to have room for the priorities that the countries may wish to bring up. I'm not sure how the 4 areas that are being considered here were probably arrived at, and whether post-COVID this will still be what the countries will be requesting. But all the same, it looks something that we can move with inputs constructively, so that it can really address the needs of developing countries at the time. Because we should also look at the same document from a technology perspective more, because I see a lot of emphasis on economy. But we might forget systems, because what we have to work on resilience of systems, so that countries can move on with them. And it will, of course, aid their economy as well. But these are just preliminary. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Omedi, for those comments. And we will definitely address them as we take on board comments. I now see a hand from Clarine on behalf of Hamid, and also from Merope. And after that, we suggest that we move on to the next agenda items, and that we welcome comments via email on this joint activities, because we are running a bit short of time for the meeting today. So I hope that this is fine for everyone. But before we do that, I will give the word first to Hamid and then to Merope. So Hamid, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. And I would just want to, among the key themes that we are discussing about them right now here, we have some issues that to be raised, and this is in every element here. That maybe I suggest that we submit our point through email, and then you could may incorporate this document. That's what I'm going, because we have so many points that right here. Then I think it's better to send you an email through which you can highlight.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Hamid. We are looking forward to your comments over email. And now I also see a hand from Orly Jacob from Canada. So first Merope and then Orly, please, you have the floor. Merope, we can't hear you.
Thank you, Moa. I would like to know what is the intention for the future of this document. Is it to attach it to the report and to as such, and to submit it to the UNFCCC? Because I think it needs further work and further clarifications. It cannot be just attached as such, and we need to properly discuss it, maybe in a smaller group, in order to finalize it.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Merope. And the plan is that we take comments on this by your interventions today and also via email. And then Ping and myself will discuss it with the co-chairs from Tech, and we'll try to finalize it. And if you wish so, we can make sure that we will also send it around for a written procedure after this meeting. If you think that sounds fine as a way forward. So I will now give the floor to Orly.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Moa, and thank you for all the work on this joint activities document. Merope covered most of what I was going to say, and I would support having an opportunity to review the next version via written procedure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Orly. And now I also see a hand from Maya. You have the floor. Thank you.
Hello, hi again. So just briefly to agree also on my previous comments from Orly, from Merope, and also from Omedi. I could briefly, for example, go through the activities that are planned for 2021, proposed activities of the Ctcn and Tech. For example, on the building back better, which relates to the post-COVID-19 situation. And I believe in the nearest years, this will be the most active part and really like needed activities to plan. Also, there is an important issues about the gender, and I would also appreciate if it will be possible to receive our comments via email, and if you can also inform us, for example, for how long, what will be the timeline that we will be able to share our comments, because definitely this is a very important part, the documents, and it needs some, I think it will be good if it reflects some comments from the AB members as well, because there are some activities and proposed activities that could be further strengthened. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maya, for that. I don't see any more hands at this point. And with that, I would like to thank all of you for your comments and say that we have taken note of these comments. And also we welcome you to submit comments from today onwards on the joint activities for consideration by the tech chairs and by Ping and myself. And we will also make sure to get back to you regarding the written procedure on agreeing on the joint activities. So thank you for that. And I will now turn to the second independent review of the Ctcn. So as many of you know, the COP has mandated the UNFCCC Secretariat to commission a periodic independent review of the effectiveness of the Ctcn every 4 years. In this context, the UNFCCC has recently initiated the second independent review of the Ctcn, and the findings will be submitted for consideration by COP26 in 2021 in Glasgow. So I would like to kindly invite Wana Tanuchiwatana and Bert van der Plas from the UNFCCC Secretariat to provide a summary of the scope of the review and the time frame. So Wana and Bert, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Moa. And good afternoon, advisory board member. I would actually like to ask Bert. I'm not sure because as Mo mentioned, the secretary is requested to conduct an independent review of the Ctcn, and this is very important. The first review has completed or conducted 4 years ago, and the result have been presented for consideration by the COP, and this is the second one that we are conducting. The purpose is at that point in time when parties negotiate and agree on setting up or establish the Ctcn is to allow party to take stock about where things stand or if the current arrangement is functioning, and then so that they can look at it again. The first review was very well received by party. There are some recommendations for UNEP as a host of TCC to follow up some action. The secretary has organized one inception, a kick-off meeting with the consultant firm that we hired to support the review, with the participation of UNEP and UNIDO and Ctcn team. I think recently we organized it, maybe the chair. I think the UNEP can also talk about this. So yeah, as you see it on the slide, the report is scheduled to present for the next COP in Glasgow. I would like to highlight the importance of the successful consideration of this review in Glasgow is that the MOU between the COP and UNEP will expire, the term in February 2022. So the outcome of this review will enable the COP to actually extend the term of the host of Ctcn for further for the UNEP for further 4 years. So that is the intention that it is important that the COP in Glasgow consider the report on the review, and with that and then kind of grant a mandate for the COP to extend the contract or the MOU with the COP. Maybe Bert, you can help to walk through the methodology for the Ctcn review so that the board has some insight about how we plan to approach, because in conducting the review, we will also approach some board member to provide input also in the survey. Bert, through you, Mo, can I invite Bert to come in, because he'll be our lead officer to support the review process. Bert?
Okay, thank you, Wana, thank you, Moa. Yeah, and hello to all the participants. I think Moa and also Wana already provided the background in terms of the mandate. Like already highlighted by Moa, like the Secretariat has been mandated to commission the independent review of the Ctcn. on a cycle of 4 years. So every 4 years, the Ctcn will be reviewed. So this is the second independent review, which will be due next year. In terms of process, where we currently stand, we have hired the services of a consultancy firm to conduct the independent review very recently. And in doing so, we follow the UN procurement rules to make sure that it's transparent and open for all to participate. The consultants have initiated their work very recently, only last month. We had the very first kick-off meeting to have a discussion with the consultants in terms of how they plan their activities, how they are going to do it, and plan next steps for next year, with a view to finalize the report in time for the COP next year to be considered by parties. So that's where we currently stand. The consultants are about to start their work, basically focusing on collecting data to operationalize all the review questions which are part of the review. Turning to the objectives of the review, generic objectives are very much to conduct an independent review as mandated by the COP. That's why we hired the services of an independent consultancy firm to undertake the review. And an important outcome of this work is indeed to come up with recommendations with a view to enhance the performance of the Ctcn. So based on the past, identify potential areas where the Ctcn could enhance its performance. And these will be reflected in the final report, which will be considered by the COP. An interesting point is, at least that's what we learned from the first independent review at COP 23. Parties were kind of seeking also a management response from UNEP in terms of their reflections on the findings and recommendations. And at that time, it was a two-stage process. So first we presented the independent review report. Based upon that, parties were also requesting the UNEP to provide a management response, which was then considered half a year later at the SBI session. And the current independent review will merge these two reports in one single document. So the review report will also already contain also a management response of UNEP as part of the review report. That's one big difference with the approach the consultants undertook for the first independent review. Turning to the methodology, if you look at how the consultants approach the review, it's very much focused on 4 key criteria in assessing the performance of the Ctcn. It looks at the relevance of the Ctcn in terms of how the strategy and resources are appropriate regarding the priorities given by the COP, and also respond to the needs of developing countries. So that's one important criteria. Secondly, it looks at the effectiveness of the Ctcn in terms of how, to what extent the Ctcn has achieved its objectives as set out in relevant COP decisions, and in particular regarding the key functions of the Ctcn regarding technical assistance, knowledge management, and networking. So that's the second important criteria, effectiveness. Thirdly, it will also look at the efficiency of how the Ctcn operates, how effectively it achieved its objectives, and also how it deployed its services in achieving these objectives. And last but not least, it also looks at the impact of the work undertaken by the Ctcn. So what change it caused in developing countries as a follow-up of activities undertaken by the Ctcn. So these are the core criteria which are the focus of the review. So relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, sustainability. Moving on to the timeline. The timeline and the various stages of the review. Like the consultants have divided the review in 3 stages. The first one is the inception phase, which we are currently at, kind of conceptualizing the approach, kind of fine-tuning the review questions, which in the end will result in an inception report, which will be considered by the UNFCCC Secretariat. That will be the basis for the actual data collection and analysis stage, which is the second stage of the review. And that will comprises a number of data collection exercises, a combination of desk studies, but also interviews, surveys to NDEs, partners, and also beneficiaries. So that's the data collection stage, and that's also the most time-consuming stage of the review. And that will feed into the formulation of findings and recommendations, which will be captured in the final report, which will be due by the end of July, to make it also available in time for the COP to consider in Glasgow next year. So these are the 3 stages. And in terms of follow-up, like I said, the consultants are about to start the data collection stage. And some of you will be contacted to participate in interviews or surveys to provide inputs in that data collection stage. And so that's in short an overview of where we stand with the second independent review. Like I said, the consultants are about to start, and some of you will be engaged in the data collection stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this updates, Juana and Bert. I now see a question here in the chat for Bert, so maybe you could address this if possible.
Okay, I see one question regarding the engagement of constituencies, observers, whether they are engaged in the process. Yes, like I said before, interviews will be an important aspect of collecting data and information for the review. And as part of that process, 20 people will be reached out to participate in interviews. And these represent various constituencies, being it member of the advisory board, or also observers will be engaged in these interviews. So indeed, some of the observers will be contacted to participate in the review by participating in an interview.
Thank you very much for that. And now I see a hand raised by Sumaya Dutta from the NGO. So would you like to ask a question? Sumaya, you have the floor.
Sure. Thank you, Mo. I just have a short question because I observed that all the points that has been given, I understand this is a review being done by a consultant, but still the points, the terms of reference that has been given and the language that was used in the presentation was objective achieved, how much has reached the objective. All these are outcome indicators. In fact, at the end of the process, you are evaluating what it has achieved. My question is there in the process of evaluation, is there any process indicator built in? How the process is going? Because you are doing an evaluation after every 4 years. And if the evaluation is only evaluating what is the outcome, not the process, then there you are losing a chance of correcting the process itself or improving the process. So my question is very specific. Is there any, or are there process indicators built in this, or are these all outcome indicators, or even indicators are part of this evaluation? Thank you.
Thank you, Sumia. That's a very interesting point you raise. And indeed, like I refer to these very generic indicators which are part of the review. So looking at the relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, and the impact. And in relation to process indicators, like especially when you look at the efficiency, when you assess the efficiency of the work of the Ctcn, there indeed the consultants will also look at more process-related issues. For example, how resources have been spent, both human and financial. So indeed, the consultants will also look more at process indicators. It's part of the review. It doesn't only look at outcome indicators, but also looking more at process-related indicators.
Many thanks again to Maria, Juana, and Bert's presentations. And I will now hand over to Ping. Thank you.
Thank you, Moa. And let's go to our next agenda item. That's a report of the director, including Ctcn financial matters and resource mobilization. Rose, would you please provide an update on the Ctcn activities and financial matters? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ping, and I want to thank all the members of the advisory board and partners who have joined us today on this AB. I would like to take a few minutes just to share with you the report of what has been happening at the Ctcn. In September last year, when you approved our AOP for 2020, we could not, like the rest of the world, have imagined what 2020 would turn out to be. It's been quite a challenging year for us at the Ctcn, trying to implement our mandate, but we have done the best we can in the circumstances. And I'd like to share with you some of the work we have done in 2020. Next slide, please. So as I will start off by really talking about the impact that COVID-19 has had on our work, like everybody else, in order to provide a context for some of the results I'll present to you. We have been presented with real challenges on face-to-face meetings and trainings, which is part of our capacity building work. A lot of our technical assistance at national level requires us to consult extensively, and this was not possible. Another big challenge we faced was the digital divide. You know, a lot of the countries that we service, which are developing countries, actually do not have access to internet connectivity. I'll just give you a sense of in trying to understand this digital divide, the information we received from the International Communication Union. In Africa, only 25% of its citizens have access to technology, so to the internet. So we had a real challenge conducting our business online. In the Asia Pacific region, only 50% people have access to the internet. And in Latin America, where we also cover a few countries, it's 70%. But you must also understand that this internet divide is not just geographical, but even within these geographies, it varies from country to country. So that was a real challenge for us in doing our work. Nevertheless, as you would remember from last year, that we had an overwhelming number of requests for technical support, we had a very strong pipeline of technical assistance. And we were able to work with our local partners, especially the NDEs and implementing partners to continue implementation. But as I said, in-depth capacity building really has proven to be a challenge. Next slide, please. So within the context of COVID-19, what we decided to do, therefore, is to tailor as much as possible the delivery of our services to respond to the needs that had been identified by the countries as well in these challenging times. So in June, we had a consultation with NDEs that was regional, and we talked to them about how we can continue our work and some of the challenges we're having. And that was the time that the whole world really was talking about building back better, or now, as we are being told, it's really building forward better, more resilient core systems. So one of the questions that our partners asked is, how can we work with them to generate technical assistance that helps countries to build back better? And that was the genesis of the thought process that led us to develop this paper. We are very grateful that you've taken interest in it, and we look forward to your feedback to see if this would be useful. We also held, as part of trying to respond to the challenges of COVID, several webinars to respond again to some of the questions that were coming to us, especially from our NDE partners and network members, to understand how to deal with the sound management, sound environmental management of COVID-19 waste. So we organized the webinar for them. And also in many of the countries we serve, the confluence of climate change and COVID-19, exacerbated the food security challenge. And so we worked with the World Food Program and other partners to do another webinar on climate change, food security, and COVID-19. So those are some of the things we did to respond to the immediate needs and requests we received from member countries. In addition, we have also focused on integrating COVID-19 responses into existing technical assistance. So for our Adaptation Fund program, for example, one of the things we are telling countries to do in designing their technical assistance requests is also to prioritize those areas that they think are important for building back better as part of their COVID-19 responses. But we are also incorporating this in our training initiatives as well as our knowledge work that we are doing. And we've worked with our partners who have really supported us in developing alternative approaches to maintaining continuity in implementing our technical work, including online engagement, and as well as adapting our work plans and timelines. And this was very important. This is where I really want to thank our NDEs and the network members who are implementing our work. They were able to adjust quickly and work with us. And so, for example, in Latin America, as I have told you, there's relatively good connectivity. We were able to conduct the majority of our national consultations with numbers of between 70 and 100 for each national consultation, which is just about the same number we would have received of stakeholders if we were there in person. We were also able to do that in some countries in Asia and in Africa, the last of which, for example, was in the Kingdom of Eswatini, where we launched our work program with the minister himself present. So that took really us working with our local partners and then just simply taking stock every so often to determine how else we can continue to implement our work. Next slide, please. So this is what we have been able to do in 2020, given the challenging times we've worked in. We've currently been able to implement 50 technical assistance requests, which are at different stages. I'll give you an example of some of the work that is going on. We currently have 8 requests under review to determine eligibility. We have 20 under design whose eligibility has already been determined. And then we have 47 under implementation. And in terms of new requests that we've been able to generate during these COVID times, we've received 7 from Latin America and the Caribbean region. We've received 13 from Africa and 15 from the Asia Pacific region. When we shared these documents with you, the chairs asked actually a very important question. They asked us how many of these new requests are coming from LDCs and seeds. So we can tell you that from the LDCs, we've received 9 requests, and from the seeds, we've received 9. This year, we've received 35 requests from member states as of October 2020. This is down from 48 in 2019. And again, as I said, as you all know, this has been a challenging year because of COVID-19. We think 35 was a good number and it allowed us to continue our business very well. Next slide, please. We continued our collaboration with the financial mechanism of the UNFCCC, and we've worked with the GCF very well. I think Emerson gave you a very good sense of what we've been doing with them. They've been excellent partners for us. But just to elaborate further to tell you that right now, 16 of the countries that we are supporting with GCF readiness are actually completing or near completing the work we are supporting them with. And those are the Bahamas, Ghana, Mauritius, Myanmar, Palestine, and Tonga. So for the period 2019-2020, which ended in August 2020, we were able to submit 17 readiness proposals for a sum total of $5.7 million. 13 of those were in Africa, 2 were in West Asia, and 2 were in Southeast Asia. For the pipeline for 2020-21, we have submitted 12 proposals for countries in Africa and Latin America. These are under consideration at the GCF, and we expect that if they are approved, we'll be able to get $4.6 million for these 12 countries. We found that we are getting an increasing number of countries coming to us to access GCF because within 12 to 16 weeks, we are able to produce a GCF readiness proposal that we submit to the Secretariat of the GCF, and countries like the quick turnover of our support and responses. But also because the Ctcn eligibility criteria has a mandatory requirement of engaging with local institutions as part of capacity building, many countries like that. It is embedded in our proposals, and that is attractive to them. But also the TAs under the GCF are slightly larger than the 250,000 upper limit for our technical assistance. The majority of them are 300,000. This year, we've designed GCF proposals of up to 600,000. So for our network members that are larger and we're looking for more substantive business, this is also attractive to them. Next slide, please. With the Adaptation Fund, as the chairs would remember, we launched this program in Madrid at the COP, and we've started implementation this month, having finally signed the agreement and received the funding. As you may know, this is a $10 million grant that is going to be co-implemented with the UNDP. If you go to our website now, we are ready, we are operational, and you'll find the application process laid out. On the 28th of October, we had an inception workshop for our NDEs and network members to introduce them to this program and how it can work and how they can access it. So we believe we are ready to go full speed with this. And we'll be doing a series of global launches to just drum up more support for this program. As you know, technology support related to adaptation still remains low, and we want to use this as a launch pad to enhance the work we do on adaptation technologies. Next slide, please. I will update you a little bit on the work we've done on capacity building. We've done a diverse array of webinars. I give you examples on the ones we did in response to the request for Building Back Better. But we've also continued our partnership with the Adaptation Fund and the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, where we produce a joint newsletter, which is very popular. We've continued our South-South learning work this year, and we focused on low emission transport for the Asia Pacific and Africa. This is becoming an area of increasing interest in many countries. And then we've also shared cross-sectoral experiences on climate technology issues on the work that we do jointly as part of the NDC partnership, and this one focused on the Asia Pacific region. Next slide, please. On network engagement, we have continued to find ways to effectively and meaningfully engage with the network. On innovation, one of the newer activities we've undertaken is the Climate Innovation Labs, where we match small and medium-sized network members with youth innovators to collaborate on innovation climate technologies. This has proven to be extremely successful. The first series we are doing in Africa has attracted over 600 young people and youth who are interested in working with us on innovative climate change solutions. We've also worked with network members to co-create knowledge, or on a pro bono basis. So one of our network members, the University of Michigan, is going to work with us to help us undertake an analysis of the NDCs, the new NDCs, compare them to the old NDCs in terms of how they are addressing technology work and how that should guide our work going forward. But we are also going to produce regional technology knowledge briefs based on the work we do in the regions now that we are fully implementing our regional approach. In terms of capacity building and our network, we've again really focused on targeted webinars that are regional. So we had for Africa, for Asia, and for Latin America. And then we've had online discussions as well that were targeted network members, including civil society, the private sector, and the research and development community. Additionally, in terms of network members, next slide, please, especially in relation to technical assistance, we have implemented a series of recommendations that came out of the guidance from the advisory board task force on network engagement, one of which was the establishment of a new two-stage TA bidding platform offered by UNEP through UNON. This has proven to be popular when we launched this platform and we issued the first call for implementation. We received 60 expressions of interest from network members. This is the largest expression of interest we've ever received. And their feedback was that they like the platform, it's easy to use, it's user-friendly, but two, they like that it is a two-stage bidding process. First, they produce a technical and financial proposal for competitive evaluation. And then they are given a chance to receive feedback, and they like that because it helps them get better and they are able to qualify for more bids for the next phase. And what is really important because of this process from that we've been able to do through UNEP, we've had 15 new members from Africa join because they were able to partner with the network members who are implementing work that we were advertising through this platform. So the idea of twinning network members from developed and developing countries to implement technical assistance is really working well. Next slide, please. I'd like to talk to you about our work on gender and youth, which is really growing. So building on the work we've been implementing for the last 3 years on gender with the women constituency under the UNFCCC, we have continued our work on gender just solutions. We have also had a very successful engagement on training women's entrepreneurs through technology and climate finance. And then we have also had a successful knowledge product on powering equality that is focusing on women's entrepreneurial transformation in Asia's energy sector. And then I told you about the Youth Innovation Climate Labs. We have planned 2 this year for Africa and Asia. The Africa one is happening this month, and as I told you, we've already received 600 young people from Africa who are happy to work with us on climate solution innovations that would transform their continent. Next slide, please. On knowledge and communication, we look forward to your guidance on finalizing this paper on building back better. We've also recently published a paper on Ctcn's role as a technology and innovation matchmaker, because people always asked us, what do you really do when you say you're a technology and innovation matchmaker? And this work was supported by the secondment of a senior innovation expert from the government of Korea. It's generated a lot of interest online. I think the last time I checked, it was over 1,000 downloads and a few other interests from journals for us to do some work with them. We have also had a joint publication with Terry, a consortium partner on women in energy, to promote the idea of breaking stereotypes that women can indeed engage in the energy sector. And as I said, as part of our regional work, we are now going to produce regional specific technology work so that you get to know what we are doing in Africa, what we are doing in Latin America, and what we are doing in the Asia Pacific region. And it will be aligned to the regional offices we have there. So we will continue to, we've done several online events, around 30 at this point, and we have increased the visibility and outreach of the Ctcn. Next slide, please. So in terms of the visibility, as you can see, by October this year, Ctcn had 598 mentions in the media, including very wide coverage of our chairperson on 2 interviews he did that are also online if you want to check them. And we've had up to 29.1 million impressions across our media platforms. This is a very significant number because this time last year we only had around $3.5 million. And this is really due to the innovative work that has been done by the Knowledge and Communications team. Our website was also revamped. It is now accessible in 6 official UN languages based on Google Translate. And it's a work in progress. Please check it out and provide us feedback. These numbers are important because they speak to the countries that we are actually mandated to service. So if you look at our web portal, among the top 30 countries who spend the most time on our website, 1/3 are LDCs, nearly 1/3 are SEEDs. Africa represents 1/2 of all the top users, followed by Latin America, the Caribbean, and the Asia Pacific. So this is really serving the needs of the member states that we are supposed to serve, which are the developing countries, and they are using it. And just to give you a little bit more about our knowledge work, the most visited web pages are those describing technology descriptions and products, the web pages on technical assistance descriptions, and then on network information, we've received several applications for network to join the Ctcn network this year. Next slide, please. So I will tell you a little bit about our work under the technology framework, under the work that we've done with the Technology Executive Committee. The chair gave a very detailed and comprehensive presentation on this. So just to reiterate that we've continued to work extremely very well, and we've benefited not only from the support of our colleagues at the Secretariat under Wana's leadership, but also both chairs who have worked with us on several events, the TAME, but also other Ctcn events, including when the vice chair attended our induction or inception workshop for our NDEs and network members to introduce the new adaptation program that we are jointly implementing with UNDP. This year, we have also implemented the joint M&E impact survey, and that is an important part of the work we are doing. We present some of the results, and we are working on finalizing a report that we'll present to you in the first quarter of next year. Next slide, please. So in terms of M&E, our updated monitoring and evaluation system has been implemented throughout 2020, and baseline data is being captured because a lot of the baseline that we needed for the work was missing. And so in order to help us do this, we commissioned 2 reports. The first is the NDE survey, which I talked about. And then the other was an analysis of the Ctcn technical and assistance over the last 5 years to assess the nature to which it is transformational within the context of the Paris Agreement and how we can enhance that work. Next slide, please. So these 2 reports are going to help us to do 2 things. One, to inform our donors and partners on the transformational nature of the work we do, but also to help us create a knowledge base, as I say, to have the right indicators for our monitoring, so that we are able to report appropriately on the transformational nature of our work as envisioned in the Paris Agreement. As you would all know, there's there was really no definition or description given to us what the Ctcn transformational work should be. And so working with the support of the Danish Technical University in order for us to get an independent overview of how to do this. This is the transformational description that we've come up with. Again, we would like to discuss these two papers with you next year, maybe on a task force to get your feedback, but I'll share with you the initial findings from them. Next slide, please. So the joint NDE survey we did with the Technology Executive Committee covered NDEs from 70 countries. Next slide, please. And these are the quick results that we have from you that will be in a full comprehensive report. So the survey asked the NDEs to tell us whether they have implemented further support steps based on the technical assistance recommendations coming out of the Ctcn. And 80% of the NDEs from the 70 countries responded that yes, indeed, they have implemented further support based on the technical assistance recommendations from the Ctcn. 50% of all the NDEs told us that they have used the technical assistance from the Ctcn to leverage additional funding, and 61.54% of the NDEs informed us that the technical assistance that was offered by Ctcn has influenced their greenhouse gas emissions positively. Next slide, please. In this survey, we also received the following information from the NDEs. They told us the Ctcn technical assistance had a very positive impact on one, the economic and social well-being of populations, the enhancement of environmental protection and safeguards, the advancement of gender equality and human rights. Then the NDEs told us that the contribution of the Ctcn had the following enabling factors that they considered significant, that it enabled institutional capacity development to adopt and disseminate and scale up. And I think that is consistent with the data that I showed you before. And also that the Ctcn technical assistance, had a significant impact on technical capacity and quality of human skills gained. It had improved their information and awareness significantly, and that it had also significantly impacted the country's policy and regulatory framework. The NDEs informed us that the Ctcn technical support had moderately impacted enabling market conditions and also moderately impacted the ability to leverage additional funds. So these are just preliminary findings. As I said, we are compiling the final report. I know that the tech has already compiled its report and would like to be able to share it with you really to further discuss this and receive guidance based on this on how to move forward. Next slide, please. So as I come to the end of our presentation, the Ctcn chairs asked a very important question. As you've noticed from our joint annual report that we should be presenting shortly, we informed you that we are on track to implement a full AOP in spite of the COVID-19 challenges we faced. This would be a first since the establishment of the Ctcn. And one of the important questions really that our chairs asked was that, why is this? What changed so much, especially in such challenging times, that we were able to deliver a full AOP? And we sat and really thoughtfully considered what the enabling factors were that allowed us to have a full implementation, especially since we are operational and we have to engage with countries. And we've listed three. Definitely the support of our host agencies that enabled us and were flexible and allowed us to work according to to the challenges we faced. So both UNEP and UNIDO, as you can see, were able to continue to present GCF proposals, to procure successfully through them. UNIDO hired an extra financial staff to support our reporting to our partners. And as I've demonstrated, UNEP established a new platform for us to enhance our procurement. So that really made our procurement faster and therefore the delivery to the member states. There are several other things that our host agencies did, but that's just to demonstrate. And again, as I said, our NDEs and network members, we are exceptional in working with us, in being adaptive and willing to work with the Secretariat. So to have online meetings, to reschedule events, to have one-on-one consultations online because they couldn't have group consultations. So without them really, and the network members who are implementing our program, being willing to work with us, we would never have been able to do this. And then lastly, we listened to the AB. We've met with you throughout this year. You have been continuously engaged. We've had several task force meetings with you. You've guided us, for example, network engagement, and we've listened and followed your advice, and it's made our work better. The new platform we established under UNEP was a recommendation coming from that, for example. But also we listened to you on M&E. So we reached out to the NDEs to get a sense of how they view our work, as well as the independent analysis we are doing through the Danish Technical University. There are several examples, but to make the point that the continuous engagement with the advisory board to support continuity of our work through this period has been critical to our success. And then our donors and funding partners, they've continued to work with us to support us, guiding us on the quality of our reporting, the timeliness of our reporting to ensure great alignment. And also, many of them were willing to give us the no-cost extensions we needed to implement within that period. So that also would not have been possible. And we are extremely grateful to the member states who make the voluntary contributions. And then lastly, as I conclude, the Ctcn staff. I am very privileged and I'm thankful for the opportunity to work with 20. That includes our network member support and host country, host agencies support staff who we have worked with this year. It's an exceptional group of people. They have a very deep understanding of the Ctcn operations and our mandate. And they made several recommendations that we took into account in order to continue to deliver our work. And they were willing to be adaptable and they were agile. Next slide, please. As I said in the beginning, when we started the year, when we left Paris in September 2019, we came back, sat as a secretariat, and we actually agreed, without knowing that there would be a global pandemic in 2020, that this would be our measure of success in 2020, that we would implement a full AOP. When the pandemic broke out in March, the staff sat and agreed that we would still meet that objective, regardless of the challenge. We would work around it. We will find ways to be adaptable and be agile. And they really did it, as I said, working, with our network members, NDEs, and with the AB and the host agencies. And so we remained focused. We agreed we will continue to work to have a quality advisory board meeting regardless of the challenges, and we've tried to work with you to the best of our abilities. We will continue to work on fundraising for voluntary contributions from member states. So we agreed we will continue to work on greater visibility and to make the point that we set up with a clear vision, clear sight, and the staff remained committed to that vision regardless of the challenge. Next slide, please. And this is what we also agreed would be our pathway to success as a secretariat, that we would work as a team, we would trust each other to do the right thing, and that while we can't do everything, we'll be smart and do the things that we need to do and focus on delivering as a team. So as I said, we had several meetings every other week just to look at how we can, amend our work, make it better, work differently. So it involved a lot of regular meetings to track performance, how we manage our risk to make sure we deliver. And interestingly, I was looking at this now because we did this in the beginning and we agreed this is how we would work. to exceed expectations, because we truly didn't expect we would have a full AOP. If you remember in June when we had the 15th advisory board meeting, we did report to you that we were delivering below the expected performance levels for the 2020 AOP. And yet following that, as the summer came on, we were able to work, the member states came back and they were able to move on board with us. And as I said, the NDEs really went out of their way between June and now to make sure that we deliver. So this last part really was a question that I think was important from the chairs of the advisory board, trying to understand what we did and what could have helped. And this is what we think helped to deliver a full AOP for the Ctcn. Lastly, as I hand over to my colleague Amanda, who leads our work on finance. Next slide, please. On resource mobilization efforts, these are ongoing. We have had very important partnerships that we've renewed that are very essential to the work we do. The ongoing partnership with the Danish government, supported by UNEPA's host agency, for $4.4 million. The contract is under signage now in UNEP. But also to mention the point that that support comes with the host country support of facilities and office of another $800,000 in kind. So cumulatively, it's quite a significant amount. And then we've had new bilateral donor and development partners. The government of Austria came on board. This agreement is also under signage and several others. You'll see that information. We've expanded our engagement on pro bono work. As I said, now it includes knowledge work. It includes capacity building by network members. It includes secondment of staff to the Ctcn, such as was done through USAID. All that has really improved our work. One thing that I haven't put in the bullet points that I'd like to seek your kind indulgence is you will see from the presentation made by Amanda that we've moved significantly in terms of resources from where we were this time last year when we were talking to you in Paris. And that is also responsible for why we have been able to deliver. You provided the resources that we needed. What I foresee is that a lot of these resources are earmarked and do not cover costs for the operation of the Secretariat. So in the long term, we may have resources for technical assistance, but that don't include the cost for the Secretariat. So I'd like to seek your kind indulgence to consider that going forward and to support the Secretariat to make that case. I would like to please call Amanda to move forward with our presentation. Amanda, please.
Thank you, Rose. So good afternoon to everybody. As Rose said, my name is Amanda Lees and I am the Admin Officer for Ctcn. This afternoon, we will take a look at the income received to date, the projected expenditure by service area for 2020, and to finalise, we will take a look at income balance for 2021 and projected income for 2021 and beyond. Next slide, please. The total cash received by Ctcn in 2020 is US $10.7 million, of which 5.3 million is voluntary contributions, and US $5.4 million is income from other mechanisms. In addition, Ctcn has also received pro bono support of approximately $960,000 US. Next slide, please. As Rosa mentioned earlier, against the approved AOP budget of US $10 million in 2020, we are projecting a near 100% implementation rate. At the end of Q3, we have already achieved 68% implementation. This slide shows expenses against the approved budget by the Ctcn service area. You will see that we are projecting expenditures for technical assistance at nearly 7.5 million, outreach and communication at 96,000, NDEs at 370,000, KMS at 247,000, capacity building at 404,000, monitoring and evaluation at 96,000, and CTCN operational costs at 1.254 million. Next slide, please. In this slide, you will see the percentage of projected expenditure rate by the CTCN service area. As you can see, the majority of expenditure at 75% is for technical assistance. Next slide, please. We are projecting an opening balance in 2021 of US dollars 11.5 million. The amount of 10.2 million is made up of funds carried over from 2020 or pending cash inflow against already secured voluntary contributions. The amount of 1.3 million includes the second instalments from the Adaptation Fund and the NDC partnership. Next slide, please. Rose has briefly mentioned this, and obviously we're extremely happy. We're currently negotiating several new donor agreements. We have contributions, new donor agreement contributions with the Republic of Korea for 10 million, Denmark approximately 4 million for the years 2021-22, the Green Climate Fund of approximately 4.6 million, which proposals have been submitted, which were pending approval. Austria for euros 500,000, which we're awaiting counter signature on. Canada and the UK, which are in initial stages of discussion. Next slide, please. I'd very much like to take this opportunity to thank all our donors for their continued support to the CTCN. To date, we have secured a total contribution of US dollars 74 million. All this information is available on our CTN website. And I would like to thank you all and open the floor if there's any questions to Rose or myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Amanda. Thank you for a very informative information you have provided us. And with that being said, I would like to invite the members of the advisory board to raise your hand if you have any questions or comments regarding what's being presented by Rose and by Amanda. I see two hands, and I think Orly is the first. Orly, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you, Ping, for the floor. Thank you both, Rose and Amanda, for those excellent presentations. I have a couple of questions. I'm not sure if there's time to address them all at this meeting today, but I will just raise my questions. First, I would like to know more about more information. Perhaps it's information you can send out about discussions or work on partnerships with development banks. Also would be interested to know if there's been any progress or any further discussions with the GCF on formalizing any cooperation beyond what it is now with the CTCN, helping to ensure faster access to agreements with the GCF or so on. I know there were some discussions possibly a while back. Couple of questions from Amanda's presentation is just wondering specifically what funding came in 2020 to allow for the significant increase in TA funding beyond the projected budget. And finally, I noticed capacity building is shown. Obviously, it appears quite small in the pie chart of the types of activity that the CTCN provides funding for. But I wonder if you can address the issue that TA does include a lot of capacity building type activities as well. Just wondering if you can address how you look at that crossover between the issues, and really that capacity building sort of underpins most of what you do. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Orly. I think before we have Rose and Amanda to provide us with further information, I would like to ask the Maya and Kenichi to express their comments and their question first. So Maya, you are next. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Ping. I have several comments and several questions to the presentation of Rose. First of all, I just want to thank you for the really interesting and very positive presentation on the Ctcn's work, and it's really good to hear how the work is in progress, how the work is progressing. Just one comment on Georgia side, I mean, on the Eastern Europe. In 2021 pipeline, you mentioned several technical assistances and also the work with the GCF and the pipeline of the GCF, which was not including Georgia. And also we have, so for 2021 pipeline, there is a Georgia in the GCF of readiness with almost $500,000 USD for the TNA, which I think, so this was not reflected just in a proposal as a note. On this, I just also wanted to highlight the super efficiency of the Ctcn regional advisors and secretariat, because it was really a very, very good and a very effective work that we've gone through for the developing the proposal and etc. So I just wanted also to thank you and the Secretariat team for that. You mentioned in the Adaptation Fund project about the project, and I noted that the eligibility criteria for the projects, it was the countries that are not having the NDEs. So I was just wondering if you could elaborate more. So does it mean that the countries where the Ctcn has the NDEs, they cannot be part of the Adaptation Fund projects, or how it will work? Also, on the M&E, there was really very positive information reflected from the NDEs on the M&E. And I wanted also to ask whether there was any information from the NDEs about the need for improvements of the Ctcn services, because this will be very good to target also in the future. And I wanted to say on the financial part, a bit concerned that maybe I missed in the previous documents, but at least that no financial documents has been circulated before the AB meetings, or at least maybe I missed something, but as I scrolled in the documents, I have not got an information about the financial statements and about the resource mobilization and etc. And in here, I would also ask if you have a vision about, because we know that Ctcn is running out of financial resources. So what is the vision for upcoming years, like let's say until 2025? Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Kenichi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ping. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I changed my microphone. Okay.
Yeah. The voice is clear and loud enough.
Thank you, Rose and Amanda, for your updates. I'm especially glad to know that technical assistance requests continue to come in this difficult situation. So I would like to thank you for the efforts made by Ctcn Secretariat, host countries, and network members. I have one suggestion for the network engagement in technical assistance, because I had a chance to talk with several network members, and some of them have told me that they would be more likely to engage technical assistance if the information on technical requests was shared well in advance of the bidding process, or if there was enough time to prepare a bidding document. So I'm wondering whether it is possible to set a longer time frame for preparing proposal, or to share bidding information very in advance. I know the quick response to the request is very important, but is it possible to revisit this process to improve network engagement? That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenichi. And we also have Hamid, I think. Hamid, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. And as many of you say that we also increase some of the report some of the questions on email. We'll ask them through email. But for now, I would like to reiterate that the technical technology assistance it is something very key for the LDC, and the CTN should prioritize the implementation of the outcome of the TNA in the work program. And we need also, we'd like also to ask an update about the Ctcn effort to assist LDC in the implementation of the TNA. If you could also update us the collaboration between Ctcn and financial mechanism like GCF with respect to utilization of this of the readiness and preparatory support program for addressing technology needs. I have many questions, but I think I will send you through an email and yeah, tomorrow or maybe this evening.
Okay, thank you, Hamid. Thank you for your questions, and also I think if you have further questions, please send an email to the Ctcn Secretariat. As just being said by Ma, the email address is ctcn@un.org. ctcn@un.org. And I think colleagues have been raised some very good questions, and I would like to use this opportunity to ask Rose and maybe some other colleagues in the Secretariat to answer to the questions raised by AB members. Rose?
Thank you, Ping. Yes, this is a good opportunity for me to get my colleagues to do a lot of this great work to respond to some of the questions raised. In terms of more information on our engagement with the development banks, multilateral development banks, I can give you two concrete engagements that we are having where we see possibility of results as soon as the next AB meeting for us to report to you as the advisory board. One, our engagement with the EBRD, where we are agreeing on concrete actions to upscale some of the technical work we are doing. In fact, we are having some of those meetings next week. So there is real tangible engagement, and we see the possibility of upscaling some of the technical support we've done in Central Europe on a larger scale. I would also say the same for the Islamic Development Bank that are also with through UNEP, we are in advanced discussions for them to offer a sizable amount of technical support through pro bono, as well as jointly develop a comprehensive multi-year, multi-country work program with the Ctcn. As you would know, the UNFCCC Secretariat now has a new regional area to cover the Maghreb and Arab world, and we think that would also enhance our work in some of those countries. And then, of course, our work with the with the others, we'll be able to provide more information. Oli, I'd like to say that we don't have any more information from the GCF in terms of formalizing that. What we had really wanted, and we are still pursuing, but we don't have a positive response yet, is to agree to an arrangement where we can have a program of work where we incubate the way we are doing with the Adaptation Fund. As you heard from Emerson, we are having this conversation. I think our work with the Adaptation Fund will demonstrate to them the potential. We have to accelerate delivery of climate technologies, and it can provide a good model. But no, we do not have any sort of response yet from the GCF, but we have that discussion going on. There was a question on the significant increase on technical assistance. If you've noticed in the report we gave, a large portion of the financial delivery was based on GCF readiness proposals. As I said, they are substantially larger than the typical technical assistance we gave. It's around 300,000. So that's what explains, the volume that we were able to achieve in a short time. I would like to call on Karina and Rajiv. Karina, if I could please call on you to explain the question that was raised on the Adaptation Fund by Maya, and then Rajiv to please respond to Maya on our work in Georgia and our TNA pipeline, please.
Sure, I'd be happy to respond to that. So my question, as I understood it, was regarding the Adaptation Innovation Program and the ability to access those services. As was stated, the service for this program is open to those countries which do not currently have a national implementing entity, which is the entity that is part of the Adaptation Fund work. Countries that already have this NIE are able to directly access the funds through the Adaptation Fund through a different line of funding. So the program is available to those who don't have that, and the work will still go through in the countries without an NIE. It goes through the NDEs as our normal procedure is the way that our normal procedure is organized. I hope that helps to answer the question.
Rajiv, please, on the work in Georgia and our TNA work.
Yeah, someone needs to, I think the administrator needs to unmute me and put on my video.
We can hear you, Rajiv. Okay. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the question. In Georgia, or specifically in Eastern Europe, we have completed one technical assistance, which was in Serbia, that has been completed, and that was done through the pro bono support from the government of Korea. In Georgia, we have initiated the formulation of a GCF readiness proposal. We had the government of Georgia has already submitted it. They have returned with some comments. The comments have been addressed and it has been submitted again. And we are waiting for further comments or further feedback from the GCF Secretariat. In addition to that, in the Eastern Europe region, we have completed another technical assistance, which was in Azerbaijan, which had to do on building capacity for adaptation technologies for mountainous region. That has been completed in during this year. So in addition, in Central or as a part of CIS countries, we have also developed a GCF readiness proposal on developing technology need assessment or undertaking technology need assessment in Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. These proposals also have been submitted to the GCF, and we are waiting for further feedback from the GCF Secretariat. That's all. Thank you.
Ping, can I please respond to Kenichi and the questions Maya asked on M&E and finance?
Sure, please, Rose.
I want to say that we are very happy to hear that feedback from the network members on the need to have more time. We believe this is something that we can do. We believe that this is something we can do with the approval of the advisory board. It would enhance the work we do. So that is very good feedback. It would help us, and we think it is something that we can do. In terms of M&E, yes, we did receive information on areas of improvement. The areas where I said the countries indicated, the word they used was moderate. They would like us to work with them to provide more support for enabling environments relating to market conditions. I will give you an example. We received a request from the Kingdom of Eswatini on drone technologies to support the agriculture sector. They didn't have a law. The current law they had actually prohibited importation of those technologies, including, the ones that they wanted. So we had to work with them to review the law and to make sure they get imported. In addition, their initial offer with engagement from the private sector was the wrong kind of drone technology they needed. So our technical assistance that was provided helped them also identify the right technology. So countries want us to work with them on market conditions, including things like incentive frameworks that include tax frameworks. So that is an area where they want us to improve. The other is leveraging additional funds, which they raised. They said they would like our contribution to be more intentional and focused on ensuring that as part of its continuation, there is a pipeline built for leveraging of resources. I'll be honest and tell you that even for the resources that we've been able to leverage, there hasn't been a consistency in building that within the technical assistance. So one of the lessons we are learning, engaging with the NDEs and receiving their feedback, is that this is something that should be inbuilt. And I think this is very useful feedback, just like the feedback we got from the advisory board on twinning developed and developing country network members to build capacity has worked well. We believe this will also work well. So there are several other areas. We would be happy to share with you the full report at the next AB. We are finalizing it, but those are the two that I really wanted to highlight. Lastly, is a very important question you raised on finance. The finance, on the finance documents. I'm not quite sure what financial documents we would present, but our audited accounts only come to you in the spring meetings. So that is when we are still reporting to you activities and indicative figures. UNEP undertakes an annual audit of our work, and this will be done by December. Amanda is leading on that. We've not been late before, and we won't be late. So you will receive the full audited accounts to you. We can't offer you financial information that is not audited and approved by UNEP. In terms of the vision for 2020, that is a very important issue. We've discussed this with the chairs. And please, Moa and Ping, correct me if I misstate this, but I think one of the things we agreed upon in a conversation I had in planning for Ctcn going forward is to have a task force meeting that is an AB meeting, sitting as a task force to discuss resource mobilization for Ctcn moving forward. And one of the things we've thought about sitting with colleagues in the Ctcn is two things. As part of the independent review, but also working for the next program of work, for us to agree with our host agencies and voluntary contributing member states to fund a full program of work, and we just implement, so that, as you can imagine, every year, even as we implement and seek to implement a full AOP, we also spend a lot of time raising resources, drafting proposals, or the GCF proposals. So it takes a lot of time. So that is something we are talking about. But we really look forward to your guidance on how we can move forward with this. But also, as we've mentioned before, I think in the task force that we had prior to the AB in October, that in fact, as part of the process of negotiating for the new funding agreement with the government of Denmark. This is something they are willing to do as host country to support a donor roundtable. It's COVID times. It's been very challenging to mobilize people, but this is something, again, that's on the table. I have no concrete answer, but I know that there's movement towards putting thought into how we can move forward. I just wanted you to know that we do have some thought process going into this, but we really need clearer guidance and support.
Thank you. Thank you, Rose. And also colleagues from the Secretariat. You have been providing very detailed and right on the topic information regarding the questions raised by AB members. And time really flies for tonight in China, and also maybe so the 3 hours already been passed, and we still have one very, very important agenda item to cover, which is the joint annual report of the Ctcn section, and also the joint chapter of Ctcn and Tech. Since it's very important, and also I do see some AB members due to other obligation, they have to left now, and some may already left. So I would propose to the AB to postpone our agenda item 7, the JAR, for tomorrow. So if there's no objection, we'll have our first agenda item on joint annual report for tomorrow. And also I have suggestion for our AB members. If you have any comments and suggestions regarding the wording, the content of the JAR, please send email to the Secretariat for the Secretary to better prepare for tomorrow's meeting, and we also save some time during the discussion. I do see some colleagues mentioning in the chat agree on the postponing of the agenda item 7, and if I think we will, that's agreement. Okay, I think that's agreement from the AB the information I received right now. So with that, I thank my co-chair Moa, and also all the members of the AB, all the observers, and also the representative of the host agency, both UNEP and UNIDO, and also the representative of the constituted bodies and other guests. Thank you for your contribution, and also for sharing our views and comments for today's discussion. And with that being said, I will see you tomorrow, and thank you, and you have a good day and good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.